I hope all of you had a good lunch and now is ready for the next session. So today here at 2 o'clock, we have Angelika and Hristo. They are both POs in the flexibility team, and it's a very, very interesting topic we have, which is related to the evolving of developer extensibility with UI5 flexibility. So enjoy.
All right. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Anna, for the nice moderation and introduction. So yeah, let's get started. But before we get started, just to get an overview of like who's here in the audience with me, I like to ask a question. Basically, the question: have you ever tried to extend an SAP Fiori application before? Please raise your hand. If you, oh, that's a lot more than I have expected. Like almost the full room has done that. Okay. And now bonus question, did not expect that. Have you tried it with the adaptation project? That is also a lot more than, okay, that is a good round. Okay, very nice. Good to hear. So we have a little bit of an introduction upcoming for setting the context for. But so you seem like you're pros. Maybe you can hold the session for me anyway. Okay. So I'll get started. So the question would be maybe, why would you want to do extensibility, or why do you need extensibility? I guess since you all have done it, you probably came to the correct conclusion. But basically, you could ask this question because SAP actually delivers lots and lots of applications. So you would think in your head, well, I can just look at all those applications and I can just choose the one that I want to use, and it's great. But the reality is that typically customers don't have that luxury. They have very, very specific use cases. And in the end, you cannot just take the SAP delivered application and just give it to your customers, because it probably will not fit. And this, then you might think, okay, I'm a UI5 developer. I can do custom applications. I can just do a custom application for the use case, right? Why would I use extensibility in this use case? And here's where it comes a little bit of a comparison between extending an application versus building a custom application. So what are kind of the pros and cons of that? So the first thing is, extending an application might be more cost efficient, whereas building a custom application, and not just in the sense of during your building time. So extending an application should take less time to build the extension, right? Rather than building a whole custom application usually takes a bit more time, more coding. Not just in that sense, but also when you think about maintainability. Because if you create a new custom application, you have to maintain your whole code line for the years to come, or your customer has to maintain it. This is also a big cost. Whereas if you have an extension built on an SAP delivered application, the maintainability of the big part of the code is still with SAP or with the partner that delivered that application. So in that sense, it is also more cost efficient to extend an application. The other point is, typically, if you try to extend an application, this is more of a low-code or even no-code tooling. So this means that it's a lot more accessible. A lot more people can try their hands on changing the UI and extending the application. Whereas typically, if you build a custom application, you have to have some UI5 knowledge, some in-depth knowledge. And this is the point where maybe not everyone can do it. Of course, you can. And then the third point is that this is maybe the point where you want to go for custom applications. So typically, extending applications, you can only realize very simple use cases. So small things you can change in the app, or very common use cases. Whereas if you don't have that, if you have a very specific requirement, if it's a little bit more elaborate, then typically going the custom route will be more efficient for you. So this is a little bit the pros and cons, and this gives you maybe a little bit of a hint when to use what. But if that's not enough, if you're still struggling to decide, should I do custom or should I go for extension, then we have a little bit of a recommendation on where to start. So the first point should always be, you start looking, is there a standard application from SAP, from a partner that I could already use? Because if you can, there are so many applications, and you can check them out in the Fiori reference library that are already delivered. So if you already find an application that fits your use case, then you won. Then you can basically take the money home and it's ready and you don't have to do anything, right? So first check out the stuff that exists. The second step, if you find an application in the Fiori reference library that kind of fits your use case, not 100%, but that kind of fits your use case, then the recommendation would be to first try extending it. Because typically with extensibility toolings, you can get into it a lot quicker. Like you can try stuff out, and if it doesn't work, you can just throw it away and say, okay, I go the custom route. But extending it, if it works, then you also are in the win here, because then you have, with a few little tweaks, you have created the use case for your customer or for yourself. And then it's already, your life's easier. You don't have to do so much coding. So if you find some application, try extensibility. And then if you see extensibility didn't work, so I can't get it to work. Or if you didn't find any application that you can reuse because your use case is so unique, then of course the custom route. Then you have a really unique requirement, and then of course building a custom application, for example with Fiori elements, either if you're in the ABAP world, in the on-stack environment with the ABAP cloud, or on the side-by-side extension as with BTP ABAP environment. Those are then your options. So now you should have a little bit of an idea why you want to do extensibility, and now comes to the part that we offer. So we are from UI5 Flexibility, right? And we offer extensibility tooling. We actually offer 3 different kinds of toolings depending on the 3 personas. So we have one for the end user, which is the most simple version of it. So the end users do it for themselves, and they can do only very small changes. So they can't completely change the UI of an application, which you probably don't want. You don't want to give end users too much power, because then they can completely destroy the application, and that's also not good. So they can tweak it to personalize it a little bit to their needs. And this is completely seamless. They don't even know that they're using our tooling probably. So this is the first option. The second option is the key user tooling. So the key users are typically also business users, but they have a little bit more of IT knowledge, and they get a specific user role, a business role, and then they can access the tooling. Here also, the tooling is a bit more involved. It's still at runtime. You're still with your Fiori Launchpad. It's in the application, but it's a little bit more involved. You get more options. And with more options, you can then of course, make more changes, and you can make those changes for your whole company. So if you're changing something, you're changing the application for your whole company. So basically, with more power comes more responsibility, kind of thing. And then the biggest power that you get is as a developer, of course. We also have tooling, but you have to open a whole development environment, either with Business Application Studio or with Visual Studio Code. And when you do that, you can do a lot more. You can do fragments, you can even do some custom coding on top of an existing application, and of course change the UI then significantly, but of course you need then more knowledge to actually perform that. So those are the 3 different toolings. And then before we jump into the demo, typically people are like, yeah, okay, end user personalization, I get that, but what is actually the difference between the key user and the developer? And to kind of highlight that a little bit more, I have some comparison between the 2 of them. So first of all, how do you do your adaptation? So as a key user at runtime, you do it basically no code. You don't need to perform any code. You do it via drag and drop, right click on something, and you do it at runtime in the Fiori Launchpad as mentioned. Whereas you can already see as a developer, the tooling is a lot more elaborate. You get a lot more options. So you have more of a low versus pro code experience. So you're more involved into the tooling. So this is the how between those, the comparison between the two of them. Then we go to the what can you actually do, like what can you change within the UI. So as a key user, you can basically rename, you can remove, you can hide some stuff in the UI, you can add some fields from the data service, or you can drag and drop them around. So as a developer, you have the exact same capabilities, but on top of that, you can also do custom coding, or you can change the properties within each control also fairly easily, so that you then have more options. And then what do you get as a result? As the key user, you get the same application, but just adapted. So all of the changes are within the same application. And as a developer, what you create is an application variant, and then you can choose either to replace your original application or put it next to your original application, so that you then have, like here, 2 or 3 tiles next to your original application. So this is a quick rundown. And now, because I talked way too much, and you probably want to see a demo of this whole stuff, we jump right into the demo of the developer adaptation. And I'll hand over to Hristo to show you the improved experience of the developer adaptation.
Hi again, everyone. So for those who have already seen adaptation project, it might be interesting to see the new lab preview for adaptation projects tooling. So it will be no SAPUI5 Visual Editor, it will be now called Adaptation Editor. So I will guide you through the process of creation of adaptation project. So you just start from new project from template, you choose the tile for adaptation project, you can press next, and now we choose the target environment, which can be ABAP. Automatically will be detected also the type of the system, so would it be on-premise or cloud. In this case, we just select the default names and the default titles and the namespaces. We can go next. So here I will select the source system. In this case, it will be detected as a cloud system. And it will show all the list of the applications available on the system. So let's just use some application, let's say this one. So it's automatically, it detects the UI5 version, which is always the latest because it's a cloud system. This is an option that will be deprecated and we don't need it. And we can go next. So here are some deployment options that will not be of use for the demo, but let's just go next. And now we can always choose the package and the transport for the deployment. So I will not generate it now because it will take some time. I have already generated it and will show you the already generated project. The project structure is this one, which is currently just referring the base application. So because of the lab preview, I will not be able to start the tooling by a proper way. So I'll just start it from the package JSON, and we'll show you the thing that will replace SAPUI UI5 adaptation visual editor, and will be used for the adaptation tooling. Sorry? All right. So later this year, we will release this new tooling, but it is already available for Visual Studio Code. So it's usable there and still not yet available for Business Application Studio. All right. So this is the new tooling. For those who have seen the Visual Editor, this is the new tool called Adaptation Editor, but it still has the same look and feel. So we still have the control tree here, the list of changes here, the properties will be shown here, which are editable for different controls. It's just lighter, it works faster, it's in a separate browser window, but it doesn't matter. So for those of you who haven't used it, we have two modes here. We have UI adaptation mode and navigation mode. During navigation mode, you can use the application like you use a normal application. You can navigate, you can switch to object view, you can load the data, obviously. And if you go to UI adaptation mode, you can select each and every one of the controls here. Let's say this field, we can change the properties of each and every field and each and everything that you select, different properties, different options. For example, if we go back, we can adjust the custom filter bar. We can add some more filters. We can disable one of the existing ones. Let's remove some of those. Let's enable those. And they are already applied. So let's select data again. So the thing that I wanted to show you in the newly created projects are already done here. And this includes adding a new section as a fragment here. For example, a new fragment can be added by right-clicking here and clicking Add Fragment. So we just select the target aggregation. Okay, I didn't select the proper control. We just select the right aggregation, which is the sections. We just choose, let's say, name for the fragment. And now this will allow the creation of new fragment. As we have already created it, I will show you the already created fragment, which is this one, with already prepared code in it. So this fragment actually describes a chart with showing some of the data, but this data have to be prepared. So the data has been prepared through adding a coding controller extension. So this controller extension will actually retrieve the data, play with it, switch it up, describe some new fields in data, and at the end it will generate, as I go to navigation mode again, it will generate a fully working chart that's described by the developer and can be added as a new requirement, for example, for the application. So as you see here in the project structure, you can also add different files, other libraries. You can include everything you want. You can refer through the JS files as you wish. So everything will be working as a normal coding project. So for the deployment part, I will call again Angelika. And she will show you.
So actually, if that was way too fast for you, and you want to recreate it at home, you can actually, there is a whole developer tutorial available for this one. Let's just look for adaptation in the developer tutorial. This is it, I think. There is a whole, no, I don't like my cookies. We have a whole tutorial group working with the adaptation project. There are 3 parts of it. Part 1 shows you a little bit of no-code, how to generate the project, a little bit of no-code changes. Part 2, exactly what I have right now, is exactly the things, the changes with the fragment change and the, let us scroll to this part, the controller extension, and it will have the coding and it will explain it a little bit in more detail if you want to play around with exactly those changes and try it out at home. You can with this tutorial. You can sit down, take step by step, understand the coding from these, and understand it way better than if we would explain it to you right now. So basically, yeah. And so that you can see actually the impact of what you get. This is the, this is the end result, ta-da! So this is the end result of the tutorial. So this is the original application on the left-hand side of the screen. This is your left-hand side, yes? And on the right-hand side is the application variant. So this is what you can get with an adaptation project. So in this case, what we did, we added a variant management control. The table is now, it went from, was it from grid to responsive or the other way around? So the type of the table is changed. And what we also did, if you now go to the object page of this is the thing that Hristo just showed you. It's actually here you can see that the whole header part is a lot reduced compared, so in the application variant, so you can hide the stuff. It showcases what you can actually hide in the application. And also, like a lot of the sections, this is always a big question that we get. Can you hide the sections? Yes, you can. A lot of the sections here compared to here are hidden in the application variant. And then if you want to go like even further, this is a complete new section that you can add through custom coding, in this case, including a chart, including the OData service that you have from the application. And this is like kind of a little bit showcasing you the extent to which you can go with the adaptation project. So I highly recommend the tutorial, try it out. And now let's switch back to the slides and talk about, oh, I will hate this. Duplicate my slideshow. Yes. So now let's go and make it a full end-to-end story. So now you have created your adaptation project, but it's in the Business Application Studio. What do you do with it? Typically, you want to have it now in an system, right? And in this case, is the question, in which system? Where are you? Are you on an ABAP system? Are you on the BTP stack? And luckily, we do support all of the stacks. So we do support the on-premise stacks, we do support the ABAP Cloud stack, the BTP ABAP environment, as well as the BTP Cloud Foundry environment. Actually, with the runtime adaptation that I was talking about, with the personalization and the key user, we support all of that since quite a while, since quite a few years now. And for the developer adaptation, we supported the on-premise stack and the Cloud Foundry stack also for a few years now. And the cool new thing is that since this year, we also support the cloud stack, the ABAP cloud stack, so meaning the public cloud edition as well as the BTP ABAP environment. So since 2402, we are in a public cloud, and 2405 in the BTP ABAP environment, which is since February and since May, if you're not a product owner like me and don't understand our product talk. So why did it take us so long, you might think? Why did we take like longer time to go with the adaptation project into the ABAP cloud? And the answer to that is, you might have heard that in the cloud, you're forced to upgrade. So in the on-premise system, you have your applications, you don't need to upgrade them, right? You can keep them and you're in full control of them. Whereas in the cloud, SAP will regularly, either every 6 months or every 3 months, they will upgrade the applications for you. So what do you do? Like if you have created custom coding, the promise that we give with the adaptation project is that it has to stay stable throughout all of the upgrades. And this part is the part that took us so long. And so how did we get to this point? Like how did we get the adaptation project to be stable in the cloud? So we have a little bit, now comes a little bit of an architecture style. So we have a twofold approach. We have from SAP side, so from the applications that are releasing their applications to be adapted, we have, first of all, a guarantee that they're stable. So their data services are released with a C1 contract, which means that they keep them stable, that they can't just remove stuff from their data services. And then from the UI part of the applications, they also have to release their applications, in this case with a C0 contract, which means that it's still extensible. So SAP or partner applications can still change the UI of the application. So this is bad for stability. So what did we do to solve that? When you create an adaptation project in the cloud, what we actually do during the build step of this adaptation project, we copy the sources of the UI completely and also of the OData annotations, and in the end create a new decoupled, like kind of frozen in time application variant out of it. So a completely new, basically, application. Which still uses the OData service of the original, but the kind of the UI part, the custom coding, the OData annotations are frozen in time. So this means that if the base application is upgraded, your adaptation project will not be affected. Your changes will remain upgrade stable throughout all the upgrades. This is great for stability, but what if you want to upgrade your applications, right? What if you want to keep up with all the changes? In this case, we have a notification mechanism. So you will get notified via an ATC in the ABAP backend that you can now upgrade your application. Currently, you have to manually go back into the Business Application Studio and then check if everything is still all right and deploy your application again. At that time, it will freeze itself in time again. But in future, this will be automated. So we are currently working on a pipeline to automate this whole process. And then to finally show your application in the Fiori Launchpad, we are using the same approach that S4HANA is using for building custom apps. So this is the exact same approach that you use if you have a custom UI5 application and you want to bring it to the ABAP cloud. So what you actually have to do is create an IAM app, which is an identity and access management. So this is regulating how the access of the application is handled. You have to put it in a business catalog, and it has to have a business role so that the end user can actually access it. So this is nothing specific to the adaptation project. This is basically how extensibility in the ABAP world is working, and we are reusing it. And a little bit, like, I know you're UI5 developers, and I know you don't know that an ABAP conf is tomorrow, but to kind of show you how it looks like, basically you don't need to do any ABAP coding. You don't need to know any ABAP coding to do that. But how it looks like if you deploy the application. So if you deploy an application, what you get in the end are two artifacts, like the BSP application as well as the Fiori Launchpad app descriptor item. And what you then have to do is create an IAM app, and this is as simple as relog on into the system. Of course, the timeout is failing. Yes, I know. Now I'm back into the system. This is as simple as configuration steps. So you don't need to do any custom coding on ABAP side. So I hope this is not too intimidating. But yeah, just right-clicking, creating new IAM app. Same goes for the catalog and for the role. So this is the configuration part that you do on the ABAP backend side to then show your application within the Fiori Launchpad. And yeah, if you did it successfully, then we already saw it. You will be able to access your application actually on an ABAP system and can open it and can see it and can use it. Right. So let's switch to the last part, which is summing everything up and giving you an outlook.
Yep. So I will guide you again through the benefits of SAPUI5 flexibility. So it basically will help you to facilitate a more cost-efficient UI change process for extending applications. It will also allow you to provide intuitive tuning to tailor to different skill sets. So from no code about the end users and the key users to low code for the developers, or pro code if they want to, of course. It will also have the clean core, which is the lifecycle stability and the modification-free UI changes. Also, last but not least, it's a generic framework which is capable to allow massive scales automatically to all UI5 stakeholders and all of Fiori applications. So what about not only Fiori Elements applications, but freestyle applications? Flex will also apply to it. Why? Because you might also have specific requirements and need to create a super specific application which is not available through Fiori library. All you need to do is enable your application for SAPUI flexibility, which means to use stable IDs and just follow some simple rules for it. Also, let's mention our recent achievements. So basically, in winter, I think we added Microsoft VS Code support for adaptation project, available through Fiori extension pack. The only difference till now is that it's available only for on-premise systems and not for cloud systems, but it will be added later this year. So the other thing is also the automatic migration of adaptation and extension project from WebID to SAP Business Application Studio. And also the working together with extension project, the wizard for adaptation project will now automatically detect legacy applications that do not support adaptation project and will offer the option for extension project creation for them. Also, as already mentioned, we added support for S/4HANA Cloud, the public edition. And let's mention what is going to happen later this year or next year. So we're going to unify Business Application Studio and VS Code adaptation projects with the newly improved experience that we just saw as a lab preview, not fully working, but at least working. The developer adaptation for custom applications on SAP BTP will be also added next. And we will add generative AI support with integrating Joule for XML and controller extensions generation. Also, we will improve adaptation experience by creating helpers and, let's say, wizards for common use cases that will greatly also increase the speed of generation of new projects. We'll have a hands-on also showing up how you can create simple adaptation project later in the room next. So if you want, you can go there and we'll try the lab preview again. And thanks, everyone.
Very, very interesting. Perfect timing, by the way, presenter.
I said we were too early. We don't do the 40, we do the 35.
It's perfect timing, exactly.
More time for questions.
Exactly, more time for questions. So now we still have 10 minutes for Q&A. Any questions in the room? At the back?
We also have at the front.
Can I ask a question about user adaptations from a technical architect? Can I ask a question about the technical architecture of user adaptations, or is it just... Yeah. So I love our functional consultants, but they just like to get in there and keep doing things over and over and save them and activate them. Do they get compressed up, or do I need to worry about hundreds of user adaptations being done on top of each other?
So specifically, you're talking, we do have a condensing mechanism. So because we also noticed that people, as you mentioned, doing the same changes, like they're showing a field, then they're hiding it, then they're showing it again, or they're renaming something, and then they're renaming it again and renaming, and you don't need to save all of that. You can just save the latest. And this is exactly so in the adaptation at runtime. Once you hit the save button in the backend, what will happen is that those changes will get condensed. So we have a very sophisticated we have some rule of thumbs. For example, for rename, we keep the last change only. For move, it's also we keep the last, and then for there are some which is a little bit more complicated. But basically, this is how it's. And it's the same for developer, but there is a specific button. So with developer adaptation, you have to trigger it on your own, right? Right now, the condensing.
Actually, with the new tool, you will also get it automatically.
It will also be okay.
Each and every save.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, just another quick question then about the developer adaptations. Typically, you would take an existing app, do a developer adaptation, but you can't adapt the target mapping to replace the standard app. Is that planned? So you need to create a brand new target mapping rather than overriding and adapting.
You can
maybe it's 2023 and I'm on 2022 on-prem. Is that the case? Maybe.
You can take the same target mapping, and the only thing is the kind of a little bit workaround is that you have to use a parameter like a URL parameter, so that FLP in the end, so that if your Launchpad knows which one to open. This makes it unique, like if you have the same semantic object in action, but you add a URL parameter in the end, then this way you kind of can have the same semantic object action, but...
I mean, it's completely changing the existing target mapping, like you changed the title.
The title of the...
You can change the title in adaptation, but you can't change the ID. So,
you can't change the ID, yeah, you can change the title, yeah.
So that's why I'm hoping you can do that in the future.
For the fully replace. Our architect has some words to say on that one.
We'll talk later.
Do you want to jump in, Matthias?
Yeah, I guess you want to fully replace the original app, especially also if you have an app-to-app navigation, so another app navigates there and you want to replace the target. Yeah.
So it survives upgrades.
Yeah, so in general, it's intended to be upgrade stable. And yeah, the app replacement is, there will be in future a mechanism to remove apps. So to remove the original apps from the catalog, and then you can create your app variant with the same semantic object action, and it will become the new navigation target. That's not fully available yet, but will come in future as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for saving me. Great.
Yeah, and thanks to Matthias.
Any other questions?
I think we had one in the front, right?
Oh, perfect. I'm coming. The microphone is yours.
Thank you. What I've noticed today is just you can add text or hide or add controls. But I had the use case last time, and then I had to add a couple of fields to the page. But then you want to have a validation before save. Are there easy options? Because some apps you can, if you really go through the controller and you find the right function, you can extend. But is that actually a use case where you should go custom or?
So you're saying that, did I get your question right? In the developer adaptation, that there are too many overlays and then choosing the correct one?
The use case is really simple. I have a form, create maintenance app was it. But I had an extra field, and before save I had to validate if the user had filled the field. But the event, like save, pressing the save button was not. I couldn't find it in the controller or something. But
okay, but it was already part of the application, but you couldn't hook into the existing
save function.
In this case. So this is an interesting. You would need to override it. Yeah, this might be a case. So there might be a tweaking. Yes, this is not. You're completely right. This is not obvious. We don't have a easy way how to create
that's actually out of scope from the normal adaptation project.
Yeah, this is a little bit out of scope. I think you could tweak it to get there, but it is correct that it's not one of our standard use cases. But I mean, now that we know it, we could think about changing that and simplifying this. So if it's something that comes up more often.
I think we still have time for more questions.
I think in the beginning there were some, but now they're all shy.
Everybody's
it was all the same question, and you answered like...
Oh, there's another one again.
So a trick for new players, if you create a user adaptation, then you deploy a developer adaptation, the user adaptations are lost. Is there any, because you have to redo them on top of the developer adaptation. Is there any plans to fix it so they just come across?
Yeah, so
it means redoing it.
Yeah, this is because, so you're saying you have your original application and you have some user changes on top of that. But as soon as you create your adaptation project, since it is a new app, you don't have any user. So there are some talks about pulling over the key user, and I think the personalization changes will be very hard to pull over. There are some talks about pulling the key user changes also and making them available in the adaptation project. I think the personalization could be very hard to manage.
That's fine.
But yeah, there are talks, but nothing concrete.
Oh, there's another one here.
There are something like controller replacement and view replacement, controller extensions. That's the old way to extend applications. Or are there similarities, or is this other concept to adapt applications?
You mean old concept? You mean extension project or?
Yes. You could earlier in the manifest of a UI5 application define controller replacements, view replacements, and extensions.
You still can, but that's just the more suitable way and more like easy way to do it.
Okay, is this old way still supported, or is this something
Not sure.
deprecated? Don't know.
So the extension project itself is deprecated. There are some very old legacy apps that only support this type of extension. And then you do an extension project. You can also do that in the Business Application Studio. When you select an app that is very, very old, you get the option to do it the old way. But typically, we recommend to do it the new way, which is the adaptation project, which is going for the controller extensions and the fragment extensions that we showed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, looking at the time, I would like to hear thanks our very own UI5 flexibility team, Angelika and Hristo. Yeah. As they have mentioned, there's also a hands-on session later on in W3. So in case you really want to try it out, join them, go to W3. In this room at 3 o'clock, we have simplifying UI5 control development, which is also super interesting. So see you in a bit. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.